Sure, there was a lot of news, but many secrets were left out of the official announcement of the FBI busting large-scale drug smuggling networks that were moving cocaine and meth from Mexico to Los Angeles and then into Canada. But don't worry, I'm here to break it open, starting with the secret snitch who brought down the narcos and his incredible clandestine meetings with accused Mexican drug lords, American traffickers, and Canadian mobsters, while wearing a wire in Mexico's cartel heartland. Think about that for a moment. The Mob Reporter here with my exclusive revelations on the sweeping cross-border smuggling operation that the U.S. Department of Justice codenamed Operation Dead Hand, and specifically on the informant at the epicenter of it all, from how he was recruited to what he did, proving he has nerves of steel and the cojones to pull it all off. Let me tell you about it. Here is how U.S. officials described their sprawling operation at a press conference in Los Angeles on January 30th, 2024.
This is a takedown of a wide-ranging international drug trafficking conspiracy. This conspiracy spanned 3 countries. It involved drug suppliers connected to cartels in Mexico, drug distributors and brokers in Los Angeles, Canadian truck drivers and a network that exported drugs into Canada, and even an associate of the Italian mafia in Montreal, Canada.
They showed off a mountain of drugs they seized, nearly a ton each of cocaine and methamphetamine, along with kilos of fentanyl and heroin. 2 related federal indictments accused 19 people of running Mexican dope north, using a network of long-haul truck drivers as couriers to get it across the United States and across the border into Canada. What wasn't said, though, was this operation was entirely courtesy of a snitch, and not just a casual tattletale. Someone who agreed to become a cooperating informant. A man who started it all off with his insider knowledge and finished it off by drawing his former colleagues into outrageous traps. As I first revealed in the National Post, reporting on recently unsealed court documents I obtained, the case started in Canada, where police were watching an Edmonton man who was moving drugs from the United States by hiding them in transport trucks and paying drivers to haul it north. Canadian cops learned he had drug stash houses in California, and they tipped off police in Orange County, who put the guy's condo in a suburb of Los Angeles under surveillance. They watched the Canadian guy drive around town picking up bags and boxes and then handing them to truck drivers in gas stations and parking lots. Police followed some of the trucks and stopped them for traffic violations. Drugs were found and drivers arrested. One trucker who was arrested, however, made an intriguing offer to police. He would work as an undercover informant for the feds in return for drop charges and immigration benefits. A deal was struck and the undercover snitch went back to work, contacting his old trafficking pals, this time using an FBI-monitored phone. The traffickers used Signal, an encrypted messaging app. End-to-end encryption can be great for holding secrets, but not if one of the ends is compromised. In this case, every text, every phone call, every photo sent or received by the informant was monitored and collected by the FBI. The snitch went fishing, and his old pals kept biting. His first call, on September 3, 2022, was to a guy he knew as Gucci, a drug supplier in Mexico. The FBI alleges that Gucci is really Jonjo Soto, 42, of Guadalajara. Gucci, according to FBI documents, wanted the informant to arrange for 100 kilos of cocaine to be hauled from LA to Baltimore. To drive it, the informant reached out to a Canadian trucker he said he knew. The FBI alleges the driver was Shubham Kumar, 29, of Calgary. The informant ran all their logistics. He was good at that. He connected suppliers who had product to move with drivers willing to move it. In between, he arranged local distributors to do the heavy lifting of taking the product from the supplier to the driver. They used a gangland form of two-factor authentication. It works like this. Anyone expecting to receive drugs takes a photo of a dollar bill they have in their pocket. making sure it shows its serial number, and sends it to the middleman, in this case to the informant. The informant then forwards the photo to a driver who was going to pick up the drugs. Now, since every banknote has a unique serial number, a driver's told not to hand over the drugs unless someone at the delivery spot first gives him that very same dollar bill. The FBI and the Department of Justice say the informant ran this routine over and over again, with a widening circle of narcos and crooked drivers, with one network feeding the province of Ontario and the other feeding the province of Quebec. One network allegedly had a leadership tier of 3 men from Guadalajara, Mexico, and 1 from Montreal, Canada. The FBI identifies the Mexicans as Eduardo Carvajal, 50, Jesus Ruiz Sandoval Jr., 45, and John Joe Soto, 42. And from Montreal, Roberto Scopa, 55. For mafia watchers, Scopa's name set off alarms. He shares a notorious family name. His brothers Andrea Scopa and Salvatore Scopa were influential mafia leaders in Montreal before they were killed in 2019 during a mob war. The other network was allegedly run from Canada. The FBI identified its leader as Gurmeet Sidhu, 60, of Brampton, that's northwest of Toronto. Under them, the FBI alleges, were an assortment of Canadian truckers and U.S. distributors. One man from Long Beach, California, allegedly worked for both rings. He was identified as Carlos Barragon. Here he is, in selfies the FBI allegedly found on his phone when he was arrested. Working together, the FBI in the United States and the RCMP in Canada started tracking and seizing some of the loads the informant was arranging. Authorities say they watched distributors in California take boxes and duffel bags of cocaine and meth to meet truck drivers at their 18-wheeler semi-trucks in the suburbs around LA. The drivers hid the drugs in their big rigs, the FBI says, and then drove along the web of interstates to make deliveries across the United States and into Canada. Cops started picking off the trucks. They would follow them on the highway until they left California and entered a neighboring state, when they would phone local police, asking them to pull it over for purported traffic violations, and then find a reason to search the truck. Drugs were allegedly found on all of them, between 50 and 200 kilos of cocaine, unless it was 200 kilos or more of meth. That charade was to make it look like stopping the trucks was an incidental local thing, a stroke of bad luck. Sometimes the local police bragged about the find, attributing it to alert officers and dutiful drug-sniffing dogs. One load in particular was heading to Montreal. When it got there, police were waiting and arrested the truck driver and the man waiting to meet it at a warehouse. Before that run, the informant had been sent photos of what was being delivered. The FBI sent it to the Canadian cops. That's this photo here, on the left. After the seizure, the RCMP sent back a photo of what they allegedly seized. That photo is on the right. They sure look the same. After trucks started getting stopped and drivers arrested, and even one of the distributors having his house raided, the informant was summoned to Mexico to discuss things with the bosses, in person. It's inconceivable he wasn't terrified. Had they figured it out? Did they know? Did they suspect? On January 29, 2023, the informant walked across the U.S.-Mexico border into Tijuana, wearing a wire. The FBI documents allege he was picked up at a cafe by Soto and driven to meet Sandoval Jr. Walking into Sandoval's house, the informant was distracted by a rack of rifles hanging in the kitchen. He saw more guns in a cabinet next to the bathroom. The informant was undoubtedly relieved to hear he wasn't being fingered as a rat. No, instead, they allegedly talked about doing more business. Sandoval allegedly said the Hells Angels in Montreal were one of his biggest customers. The crazy bikers ordered up to 600 kilos at a time, so much he sometimes had trouble filling the entire order, he allegedly said, according to an FBI summary of the meeting that I've read. The snitch was also summoned to a meeting with bosses in Guadalajara, in West Mexico, the FBI alleges. This is deep in cartel heartland, home to one of its most violent narco groups. There he met with Carvajal, Scopa, and Soto, the documents say. They all went to dinner. The informant wore a wire. The secret double life of the snitch officially ended on January 30th, 2024, when a press conference was called in Los Angeles to reveal Operation Dead Hand. By then, search warrants and arrest warrants had been executed in California, Texas, Florida, and in Canada in Quebec, Ontario, and Alberta. In LA, those in custody started making appearances in court. The 5 arrested in Canada face extradition to the United States. Carvajal and Soto are listed as fugitives. As for the snitch, his identity remains protected, and so far, he has not been named. Now, you need to know that I obtained U.S. documents that were recently unsealed in court, including grand jury indictments and lengthy affidavits sworn by FBI agents that summarized their operations. The allegations contained in the documents have not yet been tested in court. In fact, none of the accused have yet had an opportunity to mount their defense in court, and one of their lawyers cautioned me that, quote, the allegations are not necessarily accurate in all respects. But these are some of the allegations they will likely have to face in court. Please give this video a like and a comment to help juice the algorithm, and tap the thanks button to send me a tip. That all helps keep me making videos. Thanks for watching to the end.